Hello and very warm welcome to the Uprise interview, 60 glorious minutes of multifaceted discussions where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and we feature the voices at the heart of the stories. I am Christian Ogodo. Thanks so very much for joining us. Coming up in the next hour, it is getting heated in Bayelsa State just as the governorship election is around the corner. There is no gainsaying that both the APC and PDP are banking on the influence of godfatherism to help them win at the polls. In the camp of the People's Democratic Party, there is so much wrangling about the party's choice for the November 16 election. At the moment, the party is said to be divisive and not in order. How best can the PDP manage the brewing controversy in Bayelsa State? We'll speak to a panel who are the center of all these uncertainties in a moment. And already there is some sort of pandemonium in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly over the refusal of the Speaker, Emmanuel Esena, to resign as a result of pressure from the PDP leadership in the state. Those who are insisting that he must step down are hinging it on the need to balance the power-sharing formula in the state because he hails from the same area as the PDP candidate, Doye Diri. Esena insists that he remained Speaker while he was allegedly impeached by his colleagues this morning following his refusal to resign. Security personnel, including officers from the State Security Service and the police, have taken over the Bayelsa State House of Assembly. And to discuss these issues amidst the growing chaos in the State House of Assembly, I've now been joined by Daniel Alabra. On my far left is a journalist and presently the special advisor to the Bayelsa State Governor on Public Affairs. And also Jeremiah Owopele on my immediate left is a senior special assistant to the Bayelsa State Governor on Scholarship Welfare. Gentlemen, very warm welcome to the Arise interview. I just may start with you, Daniel, because of your position, which is all-encompassing, public affairs, and what is being spewed out now from the Bayelsa State House of Assembly is not in the public interest, is it?
Thank you very much for having us on your program and in your studios today. Firstly, let me congratulate Nigeria on our 59th independence anniversary, as well as Bayelsa State on our 23rd anniversary since the creation of the state. Well, what is happening in Bayelsa at the moment is has to do with internal issues, within the House of Assembly. That I think that they will have to resolve themselves. And
at this critical point in time?
Yeah, well, it's politics. It's all part of the game.
Okay, Daniel, let me just put you on pause now because we're getting feelers that our correspondent in Yenegua, the Bayelsa State's capital, is with those. That's Emmanuel Ade, and he also doubles as the journalist for this day and the correspondent actually in Bayelsa State. Hello, can you hear me, Emmanuel?
Hello, good evening. I can hear you clearly.
All right, you're slightly faint. I'm struggling to hear you, but at least I can hear some communication from you. You want to bring us up to speed what is transpired in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly? What we're hearing,
Hello?
How true are they?
Hello?
Can you hear me now, Emmanuel? Yeah, I just said, can you bring us up to speed the situation in Yenegua, the Bayelsa State's capital, particularly from the State House of Assembly? We hear that there are some skirmishes there where the Speaker has been impeached. How true are all this?
Yes, good evening. There is some level of calm now. Can you hear me?
Emmanuel?
Hello?
I can hear you. Go on, Emmanuel.
Hello?
Okay, I think the of communication problems there from our correspondent in Yenegua. When the audio is fine-tuned, we'll be back to him again to bring us up to speed. But this gentleman here seems to have an update. And Daniel Alabra, you were saying it's all part of politics.
Yeah,
but the people will be wondering that is this going to be another wild Bayelsa? This is an internal rancor now. It has not gotten, to the November 6th date.
Not very likely. If I take you back to your intro, where you talked about division in the PDP, that's not also correct. There is actually no division in the PDP. What we are seeing is the usual thing that happens during election. And I'm going to take you back to 2015.
And this is a popular choice. We know that
who is a popular choice?
Your PDP candidate?
The candidate is a popular choice. He won a transparent primary election.
Not all PDP supporters would agree. Some have walked out again.
That's also not correct. There were 21 aspirants in that primary election, and Doidiri came first. He scored 561 votes. The next person to him, Timi Alaibe, scored 366 votes. So he won by popular acclamation. It's not as if he was foisted on the party or on all the other aspirants. All of them went into the contest, and that primary was televised live on national television. Everybody agreed. Everybody saw it, and everybody agreed that he marched through a transparent process. So I do not think that is in doubt. Even among the 21 of them that contested in that primary election, only one of them went to court, and his grouse is not even with the primary election itself. It was the process that led to the primary election. So it needed to be, clarified that there is actually no wrangling within the party. Now, I said I will take you back to 2015. The outgoing governor was to run, when he was to run in 2015, the number of persons that defected were close to about 200 persons. And it's not the persons who are even aggrieved or are leaving the party now. Most of them, if I mention them, you won't even know their names. But in 2015, these were key leaders of the PDP that were aggrieved and left the party. But he still won. Now, people must also understand, for you to win election, you need structures. It is structure that helps you win election. In Bayelsa State, PDP is the only party that has won every governorship election since 1999. PDP has produced 4 governors in a row in that state. What does that tell you? It tells you that PDP is the party that is on ground.
Okay,
so these kind of things are bound to arise at election
Let me
season.
put you on hold again. Yeah, if you say it's becoming a signature tune for the party in Bayelsa State. Let's cross live again to our correspondent in Yenegua, Emmanuel Ade. Hello, Emmanuel. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I can.
Very well. I just asked you to bring us up to speed about the recent developments we're hearing in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly, where they said there have been rancor, there's been an uproar, and the speaker has been impeached. How true are all these that we're hearing, Emmanuel?
Okay, there seems to be some level of calm now. I'm just coming from the State House of Assembly now. There is calm there. Traffic is flowing, and although some security men are still stationed around that area, but there is calm now. In the morning, there was some, shooting after the speaker that has just been, impeached. He was said to have had a deal with the leadership of the PDP to resign after a while, but he has the what we are hearing was that he had refused to resign, which actually led to his impeachment this morning. He said that he has a statement out, and he has said that he remains the speaker, that he had actually adjourned the sitting indefinitely before a group of persons, some of his colleagues, sat down to impeach him, and that there was no maize, that the maize was not, which is the symbol of authority of the legislature, that there was no maize, that the maize had actually been taken away before he was impeached, that he remains the speaker, and that he adjourned that any activity that takes place within the House of Assembly in his absence will be invalid and will be illegal.
All right, good to know that calm has returned. But is this a popular wish of the party faithful in Bayelsa State? We're hearing that the governorship candidate, Diri, and the speaker are from the same local government. Could that be the reason why the speaker was asked to step down and he refused and subsequently impeached?
Well, it's all part of the politics of of the times. The election is the governorship election is November 16, and there seems to be some form of arrangement in terms of power sharing in the state. Doyediri, the PDP candidate, hails from Kolokuma Bokuma, the same place that Emmanuel Sena, the speaker that has just been impeached, hails from. And the people from Southern Niger, I think what they are saying actually is that for now there is no key position that any of them is allowed to hold, and they actually the second biggest they have the second biggest voting population, or the highest voting population in the state. So I think part of the arrangement was that Isena should resign and allow somebody from Southern Niger to take over. And that was what took place this morning when he, refused to resign. When after a while he was impeached, and somebody from Southern Niger in the name of Monday Bulo has been, elected as the new speaker. And a statement just came out now that the governor just congratulated the new speaker.
Well, so which means we're seeing some kind of political balancing in the PDP in Bayelsa State. And do you think, very quickly, this is going to up the ante and affect the fortunes of the PDP in Bayelsa State positively in the governorship election for November 6th?
Well, generally speaking, it should, because now the people from Southern Niger will have something to hold on to. That we now have the speakership of the House of Assembly. So that's the place to start from. There's no doubt about it that the voting population there is very high, and every party will want to do everything to win a chunk of the votes from that area. Now the PDP, the APC candidate, is from that area, and his entry into the race actually changed the dynamics. David Leon, or they call it Lion here, is the APC man here. So the arrangement is that now that Lion or Leon, who is from that axis, has emerged as the APC candidate, there has to be some form of countering, something to counter him.
All right, Emmanuel Ade, thanks so very much for the new information, the latest you're giving us, that there's been a change of guard in Bayelsa State House of Assembly. Let's take some messages. When we return, we'll continue with the discussions. You're welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I am Christian Ogodo. Thanks for staying with us. And in a build-up to the governorship election, the Independent National Electoral Commission has declared 45 parties to contest in the November 16 off-season election in Bayelsa State. The contest in that state won't be an easy one for the People's Democratic Party, as the party is already tearing apart, going by its choice of the governorship candidate's running mate. Members of the party in the state have threatened to leave, Reports have it that the younger brother of the incumbent deputy governor, Gabriel Jonah, has led a group known as the Otita Force to join the opposition All Progressives Congress. I say have the two gentlemen with me in the studios here, but just before we continue, we'll have something that there are issues amidst the growing chaos in the State House of Assembly, to which the This Day correspondent reported from Yenegua on phone to say that there is calm now. Daniel, and the speaker has been removed, a new speaker has been installed for political balancing. Let me come back to you, Daniel. Barrister Jeremiah, it will soon get to your turn. You know, he's more in the public eyes. With what has happened in Bayelsa State now, has the PDP balanced the political forces within its rank?
Okay. Firstly, let me commend your correspondent for the This Day correspondent for giving us an accurate update. Yeah, he's on ground, and his update was good, was correct. But people need to understand that there was an informal agreement because of the calculations within the party and how the party wants to continue in governance of the state. The last speaker, I'm not talking about Emmanuel Isena now. The speaker before Emmanuel Isena is from Southern Niger. But the calculation of the party was that he actually aspired to go to the House of Representatives. If it didn't work out, the matter is still in court in the tribunal. But the party wanted somebody from Southern Niger to complete the tenure of that former speaker, because they wanted that position to remain in Southern Niger till the governor's term ends in February next year. But somehow, along the line, the assembly members agreed. Maybe the party leadership discussed with them, and they agreed that, okay, let Tonye Sena, from a different local government, from Kolokuma or Pokuma local government, let him become speaker for a period. And all of them agreed. This was an informal agreement. It has nothing to do with us, but this is what we gathered. So, and the reason was that if Doyejiri wins the ticket of the party, Isena will have to leave that seat, will have to give way for somebody else, which means the seat will have to go back to somebody from Southern Niger, so that Southern Niger could complete the term of
it's
the previous
just
one.
It's just all political balancing.
People must understand that. So as it is at the moment with Monday Obolobubo, imagine as a new speaker, yes, that balancing has been accomplished.
Okay.
Because
you need the votes from Southern Niger, which has the largest voting
not
population.
Really the largest. Yenagua local government has the largest.
Okay.
But Southern Niger is very critical.
Yeah, you cannot undermine it. Okay, let me come to you. As a lawyer, you're the senior special assistant on scholarship welfare, in Bayelsa State, to the state governor and the rest. But there is still, it's like Bayelsa State is still miles away from, what you want to call an educational El Dorado balancing, or something, that has really come to stay very well there. I know education is a huge minus in Bayelsa State.
Well, again, I don't think we're going to agree on this. Using the term minus, I don't think is very appropriate in the circumstance. Yes, I agree with you that we may not have arrived at the destination we all intend to be, but I can tell you, this is without any fear of being disputed, that the level of investment done by this present government in education, it's amazing. If you go back to history, let's start from the secondary school level. Before Dixon came on board, we're not within among the first 10 or even 15 in terms of assessment when it comes to WAEC. When the governor came on board, he declared an emergency on the educational sector. And there were several interventions in many dimensions, from building of school buildings to scholarship, welfare, model schools, a lot of educational policies, higher education trust fund, higher education loans board, many of them. Today, in the last 4 years, we have consistently maintained within the WAEC assessment between first to 10. That's a very beautiful milestone. Now, you also know that before today, we had only one university, which is the Niger Delta University. Today, we have three universities. We have the African University, we have the NDU, we also have the Medical University. We also have
Federal University
yes, Otuoke. We also have, well, let's leave the federal. We also have, I'm just looking at the state-owned ones. We have a COE, we also have a polytechnic. All these were done, apart from the first that I mentioned.
Are they evenly spread?
Yes.
They are evenly spread. They have. For example, the NDU is in the Central District in Alamise as a community. We have the African University in my Central District, which is the Bayelsa West on one side. So in terms of education, we have gone very far. Under Governor Dixon, we have several scholarship recipients. As a matter of fact, it will interest you to know that not too long ago, we had 26 scholars in Lincoln. It's a university in Pennsylvania, United States. They've graduated, we have paid everything. We had 7 or 6 first-class graduates.
In critical areas
Very
of
critical
development,
areas.
because we're
Yes.
talking in Nigeria here now, it's always, you know, certificates, and no practical knowledge
Let me
of
surprise you.
what to do.
Let me surprise you. I can't remember the name precisely, but one of the young men who made the first class as of today is working with Microsoft, because of not just his academic knowledge of getting a first class, it brings so much to the table. And then this very big corporate giant had to take him. So we're not just talking about
So Bayelsa is losing now, because you would have expected that he would, you know, after his scholarship is going to come,
He will still come.
And, you know,
He will still come.
invest his knowledge in the development of the state.
It will
Today,
still
the
come.
state has a partnership with Microsoft.
Let's allow him. Let's allow him. Now, that first class and his emergence, as well as working there, has also brought a lot of value to the state.
Exactly.
There's a partnership and things are already happening. So when we talk about education, it's safe. It's very safe to submit that the restoration government under Governor Dixon has done very, very well.
Okay, let me come back to you, Daniel, as the special advisor to the governor on public affairs. Is that the public image of this government is very bad in the eyes of Bayelsans. Ditto, the lack of payment of salaries to workers, pensioners, and the rest, you know. Why is that 8 local governments, well over 10 billion naira monthly from the federation accounts? What is there? Why is it so difficult to meet the payment of workers' salaries? Why are the industries dead? The Bayelsa palm is not functional anymore.
Okay. Firstly, let me say that when you say the image of the Bayelsa State government, it's bad in the eyes of the public, particularly Bayelsans. I think it's a matter of perception. It's not, it's a generalized statement. You understand? Because you needed to do a sampling of Bayelsans to arrive at an empirical conclusion that is acceptable. So it's not very correct that the state government has a bad image. No, it's not very correct. Now, you also have to look at the indices. What are you looking at? Okay, you talked about the state getting not less than 10 billion naira every year.
Monthly,
every
monthly
month.
allocation.
Now, Bayelsa will be 23 years tomorrow. It's a very young state. One of the youngest states in Nigeria today. But
When does adulthood start?
sorry?
When does adulthood begin? If
Yeah.
at 23 you're still saying the state is young,
Yes, it's
like
young.
You're calling it like a toddler.
No, you have to put it in context.
Go on.
Among other states in Nigeria, Bayelsa is among the youngest. That is a matter of fact. The nearby state, the nearest state to us, River State, was created in 1967. So when you want to measure development strides in both states, you have to put it in context. Delta was created by Babangida in the 80s, isn't it? So when you are looking at Bayelsa, you must look at its own peculiarities. And the age is one of the peculiarities. But importantly, you must also look at the terrain.
That will make a governor not pay its
I'm
workers.
coming. I will come to the issue of salaries. Now, Bayelsa is in the Niger Delta, but it is the most deltaic state in the Niger Delta and the most riverine state in the Niger Delta. So in terms of development, particularly infrastructure, you will spend sometimes 3 times or 4 times what you need to spend in other states, outside the region and within the region. So you cannot look at these things in isolation. You must take all of it into consideration. Now, coming to the issue of salaries, I'm sure that maybe you got the issue of salaries maybe like 8 months ago, because I remember that by January, February this year, the last tranche of salary arrears was paid. The state government is not owing one civil servant half-month salary, not talk of a month salary. So I do not know sometimes when people come up with all these kind of issues. Bayelsa is basically a civil service state.
I'm coming. I'll put you on hold because we want to take some messages. When we return, I'll give both of you ample opportunities to come up with the developmental strides in Bayelsa State. You're still watching the Arise interview. We've got plenty more still ahead, including the issue of not just salary payments in Bayelsa State. You're welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I am Christian Oblo. Thanks for staying with us. Okay, Daniel, let me leave you for a while. Jeremiah, you can, venture some informed opinion too on the issue of enumeration to workers. He has said that no, the state has cleared whatever salary arrears that there is, but we know that pensioners are not, finding it easy too. It is tough. And how are you going to canvass the vote of a hungry people?
First, let me say this. The issue of gratuity, I think it's a national issue. I'm using the word national because it's not peculiar alone to Bayelsa State.
But why, you see, that's what beats me hollow.
You said something about the funds. You talked about the amount of money that comes. I think I should give you a graphic analogy of what we get. We get about 10, 11 billion every month. That's true. We have a workforce that takes about almost 4 or 5 billion.
What is the population of the state that
let me land. Dan Alabra just told you a short while ago that Bayelsa is a predominantly civil service state. Not just long ago, just recently.
Because
the governor employed...
Because the people, excuse me, the people are not being creative here. You give scholarships, I just told you, is it just to go get paper qualifications and you're not putting to use the natural resources in that state? You're not putting to use, that is what the people are saying. You're not putting to use even the water resources in the state.
Well, that's your opinion, but let me land.
It's not my opinion.
First, it's your opinion.
No.
There are several things that the government is doing. For example, you know that the state owns an oil block, an oil field, and work is already ongoing. The perception or the thinking of government is that when we are able to finally deal with that successfully and the field becomes operational, it will add or increase our IGR. And so when we say predominantly civil service state, it doesn't mean that there are no efforts to garner other sources of income so that we can reach our target objective as a people. Pension, the state government is not owing anybody pension. It's about gratuity. We're grappling with a lot of issues. I must say this because of where we are coming from and because probably, in my opinion, because the foundation was not properly set. The last 8 years of Governor Dixon has been trying to do a lot of setting foundations so that things can be done very well. For example, not too long ago, after looking at all the issue of education, you said, look, we need to look at teachers training and retraining. This has not been done in the state for several years. There's a commission, there's an institute that has been set up, and right now they are training in partnership with bodies, training and retraining of teachers. The idea is to get the teachers very informed to be able to give the kind of knowledge that is required in these contemporary times. These are also things he is doing. So when we talk about the funds, we talk about 10 billion. By the time you do the mathematics, you remove the salary bill, you remove overhead costs, running costs, and of course servicing of debts, you realize that what Dixon has, with which he has been able to give us this kind of consistent, aggressive development, is not more than 2 billion every month. You've been there for some months. I'm sure, being very objective, you realize that what you saw before now and what you saw now, there's a marked difference. What it tells you is that the government has not been static. The government has been coming up with a lot of creative ideas on how to deal with these issues. Governor Dixon believes that if he's able to get things right, it will make the next incoming government easier for them, because all you need to do is to build on the already established things on ground and be more creative to perhaps a few things tickling here and there, and then you realize that things will go very well. But like I've said before, the issue of gratuity will be dealt with. They are working out what is the best approach to deal with it, because we are doing a lot of projects. For example, the airport costs a lot of money. The hospitals we are building. We have schools in Bayelsa, 13 model schools. The Joy Academy is one of them in all the 8 local governments. We have about 2,000 students in these different institutions.
No technical colleges?
They are technical. I'm coming. This is just on the secondary school level. That are being fed, clothed, books are bought by the government, they are accommodated. All this costs a lot of money. In order to assuage the issue of students or parents trying to look for money to pay tuition, the governor came up with an idea. So look, we need to look for another way to help them. And then there's this, what's now established and called the Higher Education Loans Board. The idea is, if a parent finds it very difficult to deal with issues of tuition and school fees, you can approach the board. If you meet the not very strict conditions, you should be able to access some fund, and then you go ahead and pay within a marked period. You pay back. All these different interventions he has done. And so, for me, I think he has done quite well. He may not have done all that everybody expects, because expectation varies depending on the perception of where you're looking at it from.
This time, how expedient is the cargo airport to the development of the state? Is that what the state needs when in just 1 hour drive you're at the Port Harcourt International Airport? So whatever cargo are you bringing out of Bayelsa can still, go there. And heavy cargoes anyway, we know they are freighted by sea.
In any case, you must also understand that certain projects are futuristic in nature. You make certain intellectual estimate of where you are going, and you put certain things in anticipation of what's going to happen.
What's the state anticipated in this area?
I'm coming. Before, allow me to finish. That's on one side. But you just said something that touched me. You said it's about an hour drive from Yanagwa to Port Harcourt Airport. True, you're very correct. But have you also come to understand or note that in recent times, the route from Yanagwa to Port Harcourt has become not just a death trap, it has become a kidnapping den.
You had a president who was there for how many years? What did he do with the East-West roads?
That's a debate for another time. But what's important now is that if you are going to Port Harcourt Airport, you need to choose the time that you are going to apply that road. As a matter of fact, if you go to the park and you say you are going to Port Harcourt from, in the last 2-3 weeks from 4, passengers and drivers will tell you, we can't go.
4 p.m.
Yes. Because from Elele all the way to the COE St. John's campus and all the way to the Uniport axis became a daily occurrence of kidnapping. Even cops. So, if a governor decides to build an airport, and we have an airport where we can just take 5 minutes from Yanagwa town to get to the airport and go, what's wrong in it?
Okay. Maybe I should just add a little to this issue of the airport. You are looking at the economic importance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you also have to look at the area and the kind of activities that happen in the Niger Delta.
Basically oil.
Very good.
Oil prospecting, drilling, and
yeah, these oil companies, a lot of them, they come in with heavy equipment. Those heavy equipment pass through Lagos, not even Port Harcourt. You understand? Or maybe some of them pass through Port Harcourt because the airport is an international airport. Coming into Bayelsa now, you have to go through Lagos or Port Harcourt. But if we had an airport in Yenagoa or in Bayelsa, those cargo will be shipped directly, will be flown directly into the state. You are going to reduce, what you are going to pay in terms of logistics, in terms of freighting, in terms of and all of that. So the cargo component of the airport will come in later. But for now,
but solely,
it's
the
a
state
passenger.
will solely be relying on, shipment of oil equipment and the rest.
Yeah.
That's basically just the cargo.
But it's big business, because you also have to look at what will happen tomorrow. We have factored all of that consideration into the plan for us to have an airport.
The tomorrow you're talking about, a lot of countries in another 20 years would have
forgotten about oil.
Yeah, we'll be thinking of clean energy.
Let's get there first. But that's what people are
they
saying.
They are getting there.
Yeah,
they're using electric cars all over the world. In quite a number of countries now.
No, there are not more than 2, 3, or 4 countries that are using electric cars. People still depend on fossil fuel. They still depend on gas.
Okay.
You understand? So gas is not something that we are going to leave within a short while.
It's all right.
Yes. The gas is even a bigger market. And just to add to what he had said, if you go and if you go to Yenagoa and you look at the distance from Yenagoa to the farthest oil field in the river, and then you take another estimate from Lagos down there, from Warri down there, you realize that from Yenagoa to this oil point is the shortest. And there's going to be, from what he said, if this is done and we are able to take a road all the way straight to Brass, most of the oil operations will have to come down to Yenagoa to begin to apply these places. The estimated IGR is in excess of 2 billion every month. 2 billion.
And if you also try to find out the number of persons that use the Port Harcourt airport, about 50% of them are from Bayelsa. Daily, people who fly through the Port Harcourt airport. So if we had an airport in our own state, we'll be able to capture that number, that population. They'll fly directly from our airport. We'll generate revenue for the state.
The agricultural revolution, very quickly before we go on break again, the agricultural revolution promised by the Dixon administration, for a period there was a kind of boom, but by today the lull is so palpable in the entire state. What are those carrots that the PDP and its government will be dangling before the electorate to say, hey, we got your back, vote for us again?
Okay, let me tell you something. All the cucumber, watermelon, plantain, and some of the food crops we eat in our state are produced in our state.
Okay, you just consume them alone?
No, the ones that are meant for if you say export or that need to be sold outside, because every day there is some of the communities even around Yenagoa have market days. When you go to those places, the kind of food you see, food is not actually a problem. Food is actually cheap in Bayelsa. It's not actually a problem. You just leave your house and go to the nearby river, you catch fish that you can use to feed yourself and your family. Then you go to the market, what you are going to spend in buying the food that you and your family will eat. Compared to what happens in other states, we believe that of Bayelsa is lower. So we are able to produce what we eat. So the agricultural revolution we are talking about, starting from the food that we produce for our people, to feed our people, we believe that we have been able to achieve that. Now, for you to now talk about the linkages and the off-takers from this thing, that is another aspect of it. Today we have what we call the Bayelsa.
Okay, sorry, Daniel, I'm going to put you on hold because we want to take another commercial message. Okay. That's how we pay the bills anyway. You're watching the Rise interview. We got more to come when we return. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back to the Arise interview, and I still have on my immediate left Jeremiah Owepele, who is the Senior Special Assistant Scholarship Welfare to the Bayelsa State Governor, and Daniel Alabra, the former Deputy Editor of the Sun newspaper, a journalist, and is a Special Advisor Public Affairs to the Governor of Bayelsa State. Let me quickly bring the selling point of your governorship candidate, Diri, right, will kind of rancor that, yes, you say settled now in the State House of Assembly. Do you think that is going to help in his branding? And with, you know, some of the shortcomings here and there, I mean, like any human endeavor or nature, you have them. Do you think the people of Bayelsa State would not be seeking a change after being ruled for 20 years by one party? They just may want a new development. Let me start with Jeremiah. Am I right?
Well, first, the fact that the PDP primaries went very successful. It had 21 candidates as against about 4 or 5 of the 6 of the opposition All People's Party. It's a very strong indicator to the fact that the generality of the Bayelsa people still prefer the People's Democratic Party to the APC. That's one. 2, the fact that the primaries that was done on both parties, especially that of the PDP, went rancor-free, peaceful, fair, and at the end of the election, I have not heard of any of the frontline candidates leaving the party to any other party. In fact, as a matter of fact, they are all working together. And it will interest you to note, I was the Director General for one of the leading candidates, who is incidentally the President Director General of the PDP governorship campaign in the state, talking about Dr. Nimbo for Ayawi. This tells you that no matter the little bickerings, which are normal even in a family, husband and wife, the PDP still has a very strong cohesion as compared to what's happening in the APC, where allegations of there were party primaries, there was no party primaries, litigations here and there. Even in their inaugural opening of their campaign office, 2 very major factions refused to show up for their program. That tells you that there's a big problem. And so when you look at all these things, even what's happening in the assembly, it's normal. It's normal. In political circles, there are a lot of agreement and disagreement, alignments and realignment. I think it's healthy for any democracy that is growing as it is.
Well, the House of Assembly is controlled majorly by your party, the People's Democratic Party. But let me ask you, Daniel, what really is the selling point of your candidates? Yes, you've talked about unity, rancor-free primaries and the rest, but the people are worried about the issue of insecurity, that you've not been able to secure the creeks, the rivers, you've not been able to secure the land. And why should we continue to vote for you when you've ruled for 20 years? You just talked about kidnappings, daily occurrence between Yenagoa and River State.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Let me start by talking about the PDP candidate, because you want me to do a comparative analysis of both candidates, particularly of the 2 major parties, PDP and APC.
Why would the people want to vote your candidate?
Yeah, that's what I want to tell you now. Now, the current governor, the incumbent governor, that's the outgoing governor, has done very well. In our view, he has done very well, and in the view of many Bayelsans. Of course, you have people who, there's bound to be discordant voices, people will say no, it's not true. It depends on which of the stories you want to believe. But in our view, based on what he has been able to put on ground in the last 7.5 years, going to 8 years, he has done very well. So the candidate of the PDP, Senator Diri, has a platform. First, for him to stand on and build on to govern the state. So that in itself is a good platform. Now, talking about Doediri as an individual, This is a man who has had a long time of service to the state, to the Ijaw nation, and to Nigeria as a country. This was the first, or more or less the pioneer national organizing secretary of the apex sociocultural organization of the Ijaw people, the Ijaw National Congress. Senator Doye Diri was the first national organizing secretary of that group. He served meritoriously and left. Even the governor also served as national legal advisor of that body. From there, Doye Diri became executive secretary of the Bayelsa Center for Youth Development. He moved from there to becoming the deputy chief of staff to Governor Dixon, and later principal executive secretary, from where he went to the House of Reps. And after that, he became a senator. Now, this is somebody who has had a period of service that is meritorious. A period that he has served at different levels without any controversy, without any scandal. An unblemished record, a track record of service, whether to the Ijaw nation, to Bayelsa, or to Nigeria. Now, today, this is a man who has an agenda to continue from wherever Governor Dixon stops. He will only build on that foundation.
But some people would say that Diri is the governor's choice. That's why they, little rancor in the party on and even after the primaries.
How many people have left the party if there was rancor? He just told you that none of the major aspirants, the frontline aspirants in that election, has left the party, apart from Timi Alaibe that went to court. The other person that left, who was an aspirant, is not, he was just one of the fringe aspirants. So all of the other aspirants that were frontliners in that primary election, all of them are still in the party, and they are ready and willing to work for the emergence of the region as governor of the party.
And Jeremiah, you're a lawyer, politician. You're very confident that PDP will continue to rule Bayelsa State? Because the APC are making forays into, or they want to make forays into the Niger Delta.
Yeah, I'm aware that they are quite desperate in that dimension, which is not out of place. But I think that PDP will still retain Bayelsa State. He has told you everything. Doye Diri comes with a lot of experience. Let me tell you something. For those of us
and
who are
the
in the Niger
projects
Delta,
on the ground,
yes,
for the people to see and say, yes, we're going to go along with you.
Yes, for those of us who are in the Niger, I come from a background of activism. I'm a student union leader. I'm former spokesman of the Joint Council. I'm an intellectual militant. Now, let me tell you this. For those of us who are in the Joint Council, when we travel to Abuja, and then we have issues, and we are able to reach our National Assembly representatives. For example, I came to Abuja for an interview, and I got to NAFDAC. Let's assume that NAFDAC is the federal agency. And I got there, and a few issues are happening, and then I reach out to my legislator. The legislator that responds to me very positively would have my blessing. Doye Diri, all through his 2 terms, I'm talking about the first term as a legislator here and there, has always offered service to his people. This is a man that they could reach at any time. He doesn't run away from these kind of things because he believes this is the major reason why he's here. The major fact that nobody leaves, that they all relate with him today, tells you of a man who has the ability to relate with everybody. He's a team player, and that gives him a very good edge. So whether some other persons may dispute with me, the truth of the matter is that we have a good legacy on ground by the living governor. We have a candidate who has both legislative and cabinet legislative experience, as well as executive experience. But far and above that is a passionate Ijaw man who believes that the Ijaw is one, irrespective of where we are coming from. And for those of us who are the average Ijaw people, we want to understand that the next governor of the state will carry everybody as a father to his children. And I think that these are sterling qualities that Senator Doye Diri brings to the table, in opposite to the candidate from the other side. And so PDP is in safe grounds. I believe that when the election comes, we will win, and PDP will retain Bayelsa State.
Can I?
Okay, very quickly, because we just got some few seconds.
Let me just round
very
off.
quickly.
Let me round up by telling you that the candidate of the APC, that's the other candidate of the other major party, does not equate in any way with Senator Doridiri. And I'm going to ask a question.
But he's an German too.
He is. The issue is not about his sojourners, but it's about what he brings to the table.
Okay, thank you very, very much, gentlemen. We don't have enough time to continue all the discussions, but I'm sure there'll still be more avenues, you know, to come ventilate very the PDP and its candidates will be ruling Bayelsa.
Thank you.
Daniel Alabra and Barrister Jeremiah Owopele, thanks for being part of this program. Well, that's it for this edition of the Rise interview. Remember to join us again for a fresh edition tomorrow. From me, Christian Obodo, and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye.